Are you ready to learn all about living here in Nampa, Idaho? You know, Idaho's third largest city and one of the biggest suburbs just outside of Boise, Idaho? Well, that's what this video is all about. So are you ready to walk around downtown with me and talk about this cool place? Let's go. Hey everybody, it's your host here, Dave Baker, with the Living in Boise, Idaho team. Now, of course, if it's your first time on the channel, you've got to make sure to tap that little subscribe button and click that little bell, so you'll be notified every time I put out a new video all about living in Boise, living in Nampa, or any of the surrounding areas. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Idaho and you're ready to relocate, you've got to reach out to me, okay? Send me an email, send me a text message, give me a call on the phone, or schedule a call with us on the link below, because we've got your back when you are ready to move to Idaho. This place is booming. So many people are moving out here, and you've got to be working with a team that can help you get the deal done and find the right place for you, because you don't want to settle and we don't want you to either. We want to make sure that we find the best place that meets your needs. So make sure you reach out today. Okay, so in this video, we're going to walk around Nampa's downtown historical district as I talk to you about what it's like to live here, tell you a little bit about the housing and what there is to do here. Because if you move here, of course, you're gonna wonder, what can you do while you're here, right? Now, once again, it's a sunny day here. So if you've been watching my videos all about living in Boise or living in Meridian or any of the surrounding cities, you'll notice that I like to mention that it's often in the winter and the fall, sunny but cold. So why do I always mention that? Well, I've been to a lot of places, and when you look at different places where you might want to live, you might think to yourself, oh, it's too cold there, or it snows too much. And that was a big thing that people brought up to me when I was looking at getting a place in Idaho. A lot of people had mentioned to me something like, hey, do you think you can handle the snow? And I told them, well, I'm not looking to live in a snowy place, right? And there's not a lot of snow here in Nampa either. And that's why I keep bringing up the thing that I mentioned with the weather. Remember once again what it is. It's sunny, but cold. So sure, it's cold outside. Now today you see I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt, so it's obviously not that cold, but it is the middle of fall. But I do want you to remember that what you get here is continuously sunny weather through most of the fall and even part of the winter too. It's not like the rest of the Northwest where you're probably really worried about things like constant gray. Of course, I tell you that, and we're about to walk into the shadow area, but that's just because the sun has gone a little bit down where I am right now. Now, let's dive into some things about Nampa you may or may not know, because one thing I've noticed is that Nampa comes up in conversation, but a lot of people don't know much about it. They just know that Nampa is a suburb of Boise, Idaho. But while it's a suburb, I do want to tell you something. One thing you should know right off the bat is that Nampa is not a tiny town, okay? Nampa is the third largest city in Idaho. So keep that in mind, okay? It's not a town with like 5,000 people or something like that. And I find that when you haven't researched a city or you haven't been to a city, what happens is people often think, oh, it must just be some small town because I haven't heard a lot about it. Well, certainly when you get out here, you'll know it well. But even if you live in the surrounding areas, it comes up all the time. Just to give you an idea of how big it is, there are, according to the census, the last one, about 100,000 people here. So it's not some tiny little town. And what do you get with 100,000 people in a town that's been growing and exploding a little bit? Exploding in the sense of having a population growth? That's traffic. So I do want to tell you a little bit about the traffic because I am talking about the population. As I was driving through town, I noticed that there is quite a bit of traffic. Now I did come at what you could consider a rush hour time of the day, but I will say that when they built a lot of these cities, including Boise, by the way, whether it's Eagle or Star or any of these cities, I don't think they ever imagined so many people would move here. I mean, Think about Eagle, Idaho, where they used to have 10,000 people, and now you have 30,000 people. That's 300% growth, right? Or 200%. I mean, it's huge. It's very significant. And a lot has happened in Nampa too. But Nampa is an older town, so it's more developed, which I think is a plus. You have more buildings here. You do have that traffic as a result of the fact that you have a lot of 2-lane streets, right? So it's just something you may have to deal with depending on your situation. Now, if you're coming from California, like many people are, and you're thinking about moving here to Idaho, the traffic is nothing like California. So it's a different kind of traffic. We'll say it's a lighter dose of traffic. But let me just talk to you a little bit more about the size of the city, okay? Nampa, again, has at least 100,000 people from the numbers that I've been seeing. It has 24 parks in the city, okay? That is a significant number of parks. There's a little bit of that traffic behind me right now. So they have 24 parks in the city. You have numerous elementary schools, multiple middle schools, and multiple high schools. So if you're coming here with kids, that tells you that there are other kids and families in the neighborhood, right? You look at some other small towns and, well, I said it wasn't a small town, but the surrounding towns could be smaller. So you look at some of the surrounding small towns, and what you'll notice is that some of them have 1 or 2 schools. So you come here and you have like more than 10 schools. So if you're coming here with a family, you do have quite a few places that you're gonna be able to choose from. So like if you live on one side of town, you don't have to worry about driving your kids or even having a school bus that takes them 20 or 30 minutes away. And that does happen in some places, especially when you live somewhere rural. Here, speaking of rural, let's just talk about the feel of the city. Obviously, I'm taking you around right now in the historic Old Town. So it's kind of like a main street, right? You've got people out, you have stores, you heard laughing behind me. There are some people in some shops. You've got some restaurants. It's probably around the time of day when you'll have people showing up for things like happy hour. So you do have some of that stuff here. So let's continue and talk about some more things that are going on here. Something interesting about Nampa that you might not know is that there are actually quite a few things here in the sense of something called, well, let me tell you about something called the Ford Center. It's a place where you have an amphitheater and you have some other event venues. That's the word I was looking for. It slipped my mind when I started making this video, right? You have event venues here. So let's say there was gonna be a concert, for example. You might think that if you were gonna go to a concert or some kind of show, that you always have to go into Boise, but that's not true. Nampa has its own amphitheater. And I think that there are quite a few shows that actually happen out here. It's something that I noticed when I actually looked on a schedule. Now, right now, of course, you have fewer shows than you might be used to, but keep in mind that that is something that you will have if you live out here. You'll be close by. Another thing that takes place in Nampa is the rodeo. That is actually a featured event on the city site. Something really interesting, right? There's a rodeo out here, and that's obviously a huge event when you're in a town that has, around 100,000 people. Now me, I'd spent a lot of time in Las Vegas as well, still spend a lot of time there, and the rodeo that takes place out there is a huge deal. So although it might be headed to a different state in the future, in the past, the time the rodeos were there, it was a really big deal, and it really lit up the city, so it was really exciting. I think it's fun to have a time of year when there's a big event, when the whole city kind of gets around something. But I have not been to the Nampa rodeo, so I cannot tell you how big of a deal it might be. Okay, so what else is around here? I want to make sure to remind you to take a look behind me, by the way, whenever I'm walking, because I like to show you some of the business area, some of the restaurants and things like that. I did notice they have one of my favorite kinds of food back there, which was a poke place. If you've never had poke, it's like sushi, but it comes in like a bowl and it's prepared a certain way. I'm always excited when I see a poke place. And you know what that tells me? That tells me that a place is really changing. Think about a city that was established, 50 or more years ago, right? And it had kind of, at the time, a more rural feel or a more Western feel, or however you want to describe it. And then, all of a sudden, voila, there's a poke place there, right? That always gets my attention to tell me things are changing just a little bit. It's like when you see a lot of coffee shops popping up. I find that really interesting too. I mean, it's normal to see a coffee shop, right? But with everything going on and how popular coffee shops have become, it's really interesting to see new coffee shops popping up, like having multiple coffee shops in the same neighborhood. It tells me about the growth of a city. Now, a lot of older neighborhoods always have bars, right? Bars and restaurants. But the things I look for to see if the city's really growing are unique types of food and these coffee shops. Another thing I look for is like different types of offices, like modern offices, like co-working spaces and things like that. Now, I don't think many people are moving to Nampa because they're looking to be in a co-working space, but I want you to know that I did see one here. And again, that caught my attention. If you have a small office or you have to work from home but you want to get out, it's pretty cool to have that space available to you, right? So I always look for those things so I can try to point them out to you. And when you're moving out here, when you reach out to us, make sure that you tell us and tell me, what are you looking for? Like, are you going to be working from home? What's your situation, right? Do you have to drive to an office? Do you have a commute? Let me know about what your situation is. And that makes it easier to help, fine tune what you're looking for. Okay. Before I dive in the next piece of information and tidbit about Nampa, I think it's pretty cool when you look around this historic old town. You can really see it's like an old town part of America, and it's so cool. There are historic buildings here, right? They're still being used as something modern, right? We see bars and restaurants behind me, and I'm actually coming up on a train depot, which if you're from the Northwest or from the East Coast, like if you're moving from Pennsylvania, or New York, you see trains all the time. But a lot of people moving here have never been on a train. And of course, a lot of people moving to Idaho are coming from California. And a lot of people have, of course, never been on a train because it's just not a way people really get around. But let me just show you something here in the historic old town. That's a museum, of course. And then, of course, you see the train back there. Pretty cool to see that. Now, there are still trains in usage, and you do see current train tracks around here. So I just think it's interesting, especially if you've never been here before, and if you've never been to Idaho, you do see those things. Like in Boise, you see the Boise train depot and things like that. It's pretty interesting. I want to take a second now to talk about something else that you can do in Nampa, which is outdoor activities, okay? So Idaho is well known for being a great place for people who love the outdoors. Me, I love to go walking, I love to go hiking, right? And you want to be in a place filled with natural environments if you go hiking. Walking you can kind of do anywhere, but here's the thing. Out here in Idaho, fishing is of course very popular, but you're close to one of the largest lakes when you come out here, right? You'll be close to Lake Lowell. Now, that's a seasonal lake, meaning there's only a season of the year when you can use it. And that's obviously basically connected to the weather. But if you do want to get out on the lake, you want to go fishing, maybe you want to do some kind of water sports, well, that's a place you can do that. When you compare that with other parts of the Treasure Valley, such as Boise and Eagle and Star, where they have little ponds, or of course you obviously have the Boise River, it's different. It's not a big lake where you can get on the lake and you can really, get out there and take your boat and just do those types of water activities. It's not something that you can do everywhere. So if you are looking to live close to a place where you can enjoy the water-based activities, you will be close to Lake Lowell if you come here to Nampa. So keeping that in mind, if you're thinking that you want to come to Idaho because you love the outdoors, this is a great place for that. You've got mountain biking parks, regular bike areas. You've got skate parks that I see. There are actually several skateboard parks, by the way. If you have kids or you are personally really into skateboarding, I have to tell you, I haven't seen so many skate parks like this in a long time. And the only other place I've ever seen a lot of skateboard parks is Portland, Oregon, and they're nothing like the ones here. So let me tell you why. Because Idaho, if you remember, I always bring this up, it's incredibly clean. I have to tell you, no matter what city I go to, whether it's a new city, a brand new development, or a place that has some older homes, it still remains quite clean. Like right now, obviously I'm in a part of town called historic, right? And historic means it's older, and guess what? It's clean. It feels good here. It feels safe. So let's roll into that too, right? Nampa, being a big city, over 100,000 people, still has a great safety level. A way to look that up is to look up something called the crime score, and we can talk about this more when you reach out, like what you're looking for. But I think it's reasonable to assume that you're probably looking to live somewhere that's safe, right? Well, Nampa has a lot of the same great safety numbers that you see in other cities in Idaho. And again, that's a really nice touch. I think now more than ever, people are asking me about moving somewhere that's really safe. So, keeping all that in mind, you've got the same benefits in Idaho that you have in Boise, Eagle, Star, all those cities, right? You've got the safety, you've got the cleanliness, but in Nampa, you do have an opportunity to get a more competitively priced home. So, one question you might have to ask yourself is, where are you going to be working, right? If you're working from home, it's not such a big deal. But if you are going to have to commute into Boise, I want to bring this up. It is not like a 5-minute drive, okay? There's one major freeway that takes you into Boise, which would be, of course, 84, and then it connects to 184 to take you into the downtown. But if you are going to work anywhere in the Nampa area, it's much easier. So I bring this up because people have started by looking at moving to Boise, right? And then what happens is they say, well, it's too expensive. Maybe Boise's too expensive. Or maybe Eagle and Garden City, which are right next to Boise, are too expensive. And I understand things have gone up in price. So what you do is you start looking further out, right? So here in Nampa, you have a lot more opportunity to get some really reasonably priced homes as compared to the other parts of the city. I mean, when you look at places like Eagle right now, and I want you to keep in mind that prices are constantly changing. But I saw something like an average home price in Eagle, which is between 10 and 15 miles outside of Boise. I saw that average home prices were like $650,000. I mean, that's pretty significant. What a jump, right? You practically feel like that's a California price, depending on your neighborhood. I know a lot of you from California are thinking, I don't think so. It's not that cheap here. But in Nampa, you have so much more opportunity. You're gonna have opportunity for 2 reasons, okay? One, because again, you're further from Boise, right? The further you are from the city, the more reasonable the pricing gets. And number 2, you have a choice of older homes and new developments. So Nampa is a well-established community, right? You have a lot of stuff here already. I mean, just driving down the street, I see tons of restaurants, tons of food. You have, all the things you need, hardware stores, banks. You've got all kinds of stuff here. There's 2 banks right across the street from each other right here. You've got a lot of small businesses here, and there's already been a lot of development. So that means the city's older, right? We could call it a more mature city. And that means you'll be able to choose from a house that might be a little older. That doesn't mean you have to buy a fixer that's 60 years old. There are still really nice houses that are available that maybe are from the 80s, from the 90s, and of course there are going to be options that are older than that, some remodeled and some not. So if you're looking perhaps to remodel a place, that might be a great opportunity for you. And Nampa can really offer you a single city to live in. Okay, what do I mean when I say that? You'll hear me, okay, if you've been watching my videos, you might hear me use this word convenience all the time. I have this affinity to live somewhere that's convenient. Call me unique, but I want to live in a place where things are at least kind of convenient. I don't want to drive 30 minutes to the grocery store. Now, interestingly, not everyone cares about that. And people often bring up to me that they don't care. They're happy to drive however far they have to get somewhere. But for me, I can say in Nampa, everything you need is in the city. You're not going to have to drive to another city. There are obviously some situations where you might have to go somewhere else. But Nampa was established in 1890, okay? It's not brand new. It's over 100 years old. So everything is within the city. You can access all the things that you need. And I think that makes it easier for living, right? I think a lot of people now want to live a more relaxed lifestyle. They don't want to be so inconvenienced where they have to travel so far, because now we spend so much more time at home than we ever did in the past, right? And, things have changed, but, life is still good, and we can still enjoy a lot of things we can do right around our houses, especially if you can't travel anymore. So that's why I bring up the proximity to services, and I bring up things like how convenient everything is. That's why I like to talk about that stuff. So again, in Nampa, whatever you need is probably in the city. Whether it's something for your car, you want to go out and have some fun, some kids want to make my video more fun. They're in the video. They made it.
What's up?
See? Nampa locals are looking at me like, what is this guy doing making these videos? So there's something you're not going to see here, right? You're not going to see a bunch of people walking around with a camera making videos. To you, that might... When you watch this video, depending on where you're coming from, you might be thinking, well, I see like influencers and I see people all the time holding up their cell phones. Let me tell you something, that does not happen everywhere. And when I make my videos, people in Idaho are often just looking at me like, what is this guy doing? He's making these videos? Well, that's because I have a passion about Idaho, right? I came here a few times and I said, okay, I've got to have a place here. This is a great place. And now I have one. And now I want to help you come out here too. I have a group of people that wants to help you. So what are you going to do? If you're thinking about moving to Nampa, Boise, Star, Eagle, Kuna, Meridian, you name any of the cities in the Treasure Valley, even if you want to go up north to Coeur d'Alene, you've got to reach out to us, okay? Send me an email, send me a text message, give me a call, 24/7, okay? Seriously, reach out to me. I want to connect with you and talk to you all about relocating to Nampa, Idaho, or Boise, Idaho, or whatever is going to work for you. And we're here to help you. All right, everybody. I cannot wait to hear from you. I'd love it if you dropped a comment below, told me what you want to learn about Idaho, tell me what you want to learn about Nampa, and just share your insights with me. All right, I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.